Before I continue, I feel I must mention by listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or others. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultations with your healthcare professionals. We're here to share stories and give hope. Please consult your own physician for any medication questions or medical issues that you may be having. Our bodies are uniquely ours, and something that may work for one person may not necessarily work for you. How many of us can relate to Marissa's story? Symptoms coming on suddenly, heart racing, rocking motion, feeling as if she was drugged, and many unusual symptoms she had never felt before. Over time, she has found her voice and learned the importance of self-advocacy. Today, she uses her voice and story to connect with other vestibular warriors through an online support group she co-hosts every Thursday evening, 2 YouTube series, and a podcast, as well as being part of Vita's Life Rebalance Chronicles docuseries, where she shares her story more intimately. She, along with her podcast host Joy, was also voted Vestibular Disorders Association Volunteers of the Year. Congratulations, ladies. It was well deserved. Please welcome my friend and fellow Vita ambassador, Marissa.
Well, I know that we recorded way back with you and Joy, and we shared about your journey a little bit here and there. But so let's jump back to anybody that hasn't seen it and learn a little bit about you before your vestibular symptoms and how they came on, and we'll jump up to what's going on today.
Yeah. So, I was living life normally. I was a teacher, taught preschool. I had Ethan, who was 2 at the time, and, life was good. I was busy. I was doing everything. I know you said you're always busy, you always wanted to fill your calendar. That was me too. And yeah, just go, and just work and then family. And then, my onset started in 2011. I had been going through a period of really bad headaches. I guess they were migraines.
Have you had migraines in your teen years, or was this something new?
I noticed getting some really bad headaches in college, but no, I never really had it before that. Both my parents, though, were both migraine sufferers, classic migraine. So, so I was just, going through a period of time where I was getting a lot of really bad headaches. And then one day at work, I went to just take some more ibuprofen or something because I had another horrible, horrible headache. And that was when I was driving to my parents' house with my son in the car, and I got to a light, and that's where I had that really scary episode of everything starting to feel like I'm on a ship moving. My heart starts racing. I think I'm having a stroke or a heart attack. No idea what's happening. Don't know how I made it to their house. I was close. I knew that their power was out from the night before with a storm. So I knew that I couldn't call them. So I was like, I got to make it there. And I did. And, same thing, got there. Wasn't sure what was happening with me. I laid on their couch. I still didn't feel good. I remember my husband having to come pick me because I didn't feel like I could drive. But you know how we feel like, let's just go get a good night's rest. That's what we need. Our body's just worn down. So that's what I thought. I just went to sleep. And then when I woke up, things were not the same. I had immediate vision straining where it felt like I couldn't look at anything. I had severe balance issues. I just felt so, off. I felt like I had been drugged. You get that feeling where you just feel so out of it. And you're like, what happened? And no head pain. That was the strange thing, was because I always had the classic really bad head pain. The head pain was gone. And there was this sense of, equilibrium and just feeling so off, and just knowing that something was really wrong and not sure at all what that was. and not ever thinking it could somehow be linked to migraine, you
Right.
know?
No, last thing from our minds, I know.
Yeah, the very last thing. So, as you know, I had to leave work for a while, kind of took a sick leave or whatever for a while. And I went through all the doctors and the tests because nothing ever changed. I felt constantly dizzy. I felt constant rocking 24/7. For me back then, I almost feel like I had a touch of MDDS. No one ever said that to me, but motion felt good. Like being in motion, riding in the car, moving, walking around, that felt good. Sitting, not good. I would feel that strong rocking sensation. So, you go through the usual, however many doctors. And, this was a long time ago. So the term vestibular migraine wasn't used. The word that was thrown around was migraine-associated vertigo,
Right.
MAV. And there was very little, of course, back then you could find on it. I remember finding a few chats, but I did, manage to find a neurologist that claimed that's what he thought I had after I went through all the testing, the MRIs, the CAT scans, blood tests, and everything was normal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the doctor started me on a really hefty dose of nortriptyline, which is an antidepressant. So we know now that you can start out on a really low dose, but this doctor didn't do that.
Oh, yeah.
He hit me with a big one and a huge dose. And that left me not being able to get off the couch literally for a day because I had to sleep it off. I couldn't do anything. And, they talk about the usual meds that they treat it with, even then, the anti-seizure drugs, the beta blockers, all these things. And I was someone that I never needed to take. I never took medication for anything, this was all new. And it's scary when they're throwing around all these different medications and things. So I had decided then, I'm like, if these are the kind of meds you have to take, I'm like, I got to find a different route. This is not going to work for me. So I did in between that time end up going to vestibular rehab therapy. And that helped a little bit, not completely, but it did help a little bit.
Did you find you were more symptomatic during the therapy?
Yes, it did get worse kind of before it got better. The exercises were definitely not easy to do. So I do them at home and I would say, yeah, they kind of help, but there was still other components, that I felt like we still needed to address. And mine, I always say it was so visually effective, where I couldn't drive because I couldn't stare. If I stared at something or concentrated on something, I would get dizzy instantly. So driving was an awful task. I could not do that. And there was just so many, I felt the visual parts where my eyes just always felt strained and uncomfortable. And I never understood, what was going on with that. But I did find a vision doctor, a behavioral vision doctor. And she's actually worked with me since the onset. So long time, 12 years or so. And I really noticed a big change when seeing her because she, said there was nothing physically wrong with my eyes, but it was the way my brain and my eyes were working together. And so we did different vision exercises. We tried some of the different glasses. Those didn't really work. But yes, she helped me a lot. And to this day, I still actually do some of the eye exercises. So, that kind of helped. But it never fully went away during that period. I would say I could work through some of the symptoms, I did end up going back to work part-time. I was able to work through things. I couldn't drive at all for those 3 years though. But everything else, 3 years, yeah. I did not drive. So I had to have, my husband or my dad would help drive me to work and back. And that was complicated and having to rely on others, for that part of it. But otherwise, I was pretty much doing everything else. We still traveled during that time, and then it did just kind of go away slowly and slowly. It wasn't all of a sudden like I woke up and, whoa, it's gone. It was just slowly and slowly, I kind of noticed that the symptoms were kind of lessening.
Nice.
And one thing that stands out to me is I remember going into Target to do our grocery shopping. And that used to be the most challenging task ever, because that was, of course, before we could order groceries or order things, so we had to go into the store. My husband would always come with me, but just the aisles, when you would walk down the aisles, it would just feel like the aisles would be closing in on me. And just from all the stimulus visually, and I just always at the end of our shopping, I'd be ready to throw up. I'd be so nauseous, and usually when he was checking out, I'd be like, I'm going to the car. It was so taxing and just trying to do that. And I remember then a couple of years later going into Target and being in the aisles, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have that feeling. I don't feel nauseous. I don't feel like everything's closing in on me. It just felt so much better. And then that's when I talk about how I kind of had that 4-year remission where I really didn't even have any headaches during that time. As strange as that sounds, but yeah. And that's when I kind of got a new job somewhere and working at a different preschool, and, was kind of starting over again. And that was exciting. And I had 4 really great years again. And then that's when we got to 2018. And that was when things changed again for me.
Were the symptoms that came in the same as before?
No. So some of them were a little similar, but the most noticeable was it was the opposite of what I had before. So motion this time in 2018 was awful. I just wanted to sit and not move. I didn't want to move my head. I didn't want to move at all. So I would sit. Whereas, the first time I wanted to move, and moving felt good. So couldn't ride in the car. That made me sick. Couldn't go into stores. I couldn't look at my phone. I couldn't really do much of anything at that point.
Your life kind of completely stopped again.
Yes. And I would say, it came back worse.
And how long did it last this time? Are you still,
I'm still in the journey, but things are much better. But yeah, in 2018, that was actually when the medicine Aimovig came out, the injectable for migraines. It had just been released in 2018. It was like the end of 2018. And I was seeing a few different neurologists again. I couldn't go back to my original neurologist because of insurance reasons and things. So it was like trying to find the new doctor again. And so we had to go through those hurdles. And then, I was right. Like it was right around Thanksgiving. And this doctor, gave me my options and said, well, you could try this new drug, Aimovig. And you would think I would be more afraid to try an injectable than a pill, right? Because this stays in your body for a month at least, starting out. So, but no, it drew me in because there were no side effects, basically, they said, compared to the other meds, that they treat VM with. So I chose that, and I definitely had my ups and downs with it over the last few years, kind of gone back and forth. I've had good times with it, I feel, and then some bad times. And then we've added some other meds in between as well. But for me during that time, I never got back to, I would say, where I am today. Even I would have periods of time where I would be definitely less symptomatic, and I would do all my eye exercises, all my vestibular training again, everything to build my body back up to be able to go out and try to function. And I may be good for a couple months, not, great, but like doable. And then I would get what I guess is called now a flare, like a really bad flare up. And that I could get stuck in a flare for a year, maybe. It would depend. It could be a couple months. It could be a year, and really had trouble getting out of that space, because that's when my usual therapies wouldn't work. vision therapy wasn't helping. The vestibular exercises weren't working. Couldn't even go a lot of times to vestibular therapy because, my brain was just so overstimulated and we needed to calm things down before I could even start therapy. And I did the worst thing that you can do and just sit, and not move around, and just the couch became my safe place. We all kind of have that safe place that we go to. And I would kind of each morning kind of load up, like I had my little tray on the ottoman by the couch, and I would load up with waters. Like I made sure I had like a ton of waters on there, like any crackers, any snacks, because I'd be worried that I couldn't get up to get something, or so that was kind of like my little lifeline there, having just the things I needed, and I would try to not move because moving just made it so much worse.
You had your son. How old was he? He was pretty
well,
young.
In 2018, he was older by that time, maybe like fourth grade, third or fourth grade. But yeah, it was still hard because, I used to, it's so sad, but I would worry when he would come home from school that I couldn't get him a snack, or he's going to want me to do something and I won't be able to do it. And, thankfully I had my mom helping me during the day, because if my husband was working, she would at least, be able to help me get lunch, or, if I needed something, or help take the dog out, or, do some of the laundry. But it was just, I always say that period of time, and it got particularly the worst in 2021. That was my really bad year after the pandemic. The pandemic was good, surprisingly. And again, I know we've heard people say it before, but I think it was that, everyone in the world had to do what we do sometimes,
Right.
Stay in, not be able to go places.
Yeah.
And it was like, I almost felt that acceptance then that it was okay that I was home, and I had all my family home with me. And, but coming out of that year, right when we hit January of 2021, I just started noticing symptoms coming back in really strong again and worse. And then that, turned out to be the worst year for me. And I always say, had I not gone through what I went through in 2021 on a daily basis, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today, because my mindset in 2020, when I was doing well again, was I don't want to think about anything vestibular. I don't want to go on Facebook and look at the groups. It's out of sight, out of mind. I just want to move on with my life and forget about the vestibular and just move on. And so had I not experienced what I went through in 2021, I wouldn't have joined Vita. I wouldn't have met all you guys and, been doing all these amazing things. And so I know you've said it in your Chronicles story and things too, like in a way you use different words, I'm sure, but it was almost a blessing in disguise, because I love where I'm at now.
Right.
No, I didn't like going through all that. Nobody does, but it wouldn't have gotten me to where I am now. And it's been so much struggle with the doctors and the right meds and things like that, and therapies. And then we didn't even talk about the whole mental aspect of it, right? Emotionally and just mentally, that toll, because I can speak a little bit on that for a minute, because, having this for over a decade or whatever, I always just held it in,
Yep.
I just kind of took it in, like I can handle this, whatever. But after just 2018 and those rough years of, I struggled so much with, and you probably have too, where you've built yourself up and you're able to do stuff, and then you have a huge flare or whatever, and you're right back. It's like, you took steps forward and you took like 20 back. And then having to rebuild yourself again, knowing that, hey, I'm probably going to be taken down again in a couple more months and having to do this again. So I constantly in my mind was having so much trouble with understanding, okay, how I'm fine sometimes. And then these flares come, can't leave the house then for months and I can't do anything. So I would get in that mindset of when I was doing well, like, great, life's good again and I can do things. And then that bam, like that just hits you right in the face and you're down again. And it was just so emotional, the highs and the lows with that. So by the time I was in 2021, after experiencing the worst of things, I was like, I need to talk to somebody about this professionally,
Right.
because I couldn't hold it in anymore.
No, it's a hard emotional journey to go through. We talk about the physical symptoms, but that emotional and mental journey is taxing. And if you don't have someone to talk to outside, not even the vestibular community, a professional, it is hard.
Yeah, it's very hard.
There's a lot of people that don't reach out to, therapists. I think it's something that needs to be spoken about more often, that emotional side of it, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Because, you learn it too from all your interviews with people. I mean, we might have different physical symptoms, but I mean, mentally and emotionally, we're all going through the same stuff, the same feelings and all that. We are all going through that. And I mean, in some ways, it can be as bad as the physical, sometimes worse, even, that you're battling with. I remember just wanting my husband to drop me off at a hospital and just leave me there and let them figure out. I so bad wanted someone to figure out what was wrong with me, like why I couldn't get better from these attacks and the dizziness, and then why all this emotional stuff was coming. And I just was like, I remember, just wanting to be like put in a closet and just leave me there, like just go on with your life. Like just because, it's not living. And
no,
it was awful.
No, and I remember even second guessing myself before I had a diagnosis. Am I really this sick? Am I just amplifying, blowing things out of proportion? Is this really happening? I mean, because there were no answers, and it's just beyond frustrating. I wanted to go way back to when you first started having symptoms, and you were sick for 3 years, and you stopped driving. Did you voluntarily surrender your license, or was there any government play with that? Because I know that that is a question that people do have about driving, on whether they should drive or not.
No, that was solely my choice.
Okay.
Nothing was ever taken away or anything. And the doctors, they didn't really tell me. I don't remember them even telling me anything about the driving other than like, obviously, well, if you're not feeling well and you're dizzy, don't do it, But no, I didn't have any kind of intervention like that.
And it was just a choice.
I physically couldn't do it. Yeah. So, physically not being able to drive because I couldn't focus on the road. I would get dizzy if I looked at something too long.
And what was your diagnosis? Was vestibular migraine?
Yeah, they called it again back then, migraine-associated vertigo. So yes, the vestibular migraine.
It's the first thing I was diagnosed with also, and I called it migraine-associated vertigo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did actually see in that beginning part, I didn't mention Dr. Hain, who's in Chicago Dizziness and Balance. And that's when I had done all the hearing and ear tests to rule out that it wasn't an inner ear disorder. So I have seen Dr. Hain a couple times.
Now, you have the vestibular migraine. Do you have another diagnosis as well?
Yes. I was given also, later now recently, the diagnosis of chronic migraine and also PPPD.
And you're pretty stable right now?
Yeah. I definitely understood the triple PD part, because I didn't have any free attack days or free dizzy days. I was locked in. But luckily, with the right treatment, we were able to kind of calm things down and get me to that place where I could start therapies again and, get the migraines under control because they were not under control at all.
Right. Well, that's good that you've have some peace and and some symptom-free days. Symptom-free days or just less symptom days?
No, I mean, I would say I'm more symptom free
Oh, that's lovely.
lately. I mean, of course, when I'm going through something stressful or there's, yeah, I'll start feeling some things, but it's not how it was. And it doesn't last as long and it goes away.
Right. Right. That's good. Going through all this, and I know that you are doing so much, you enjoy doing so much for the community, not only with your podcast and your YouTube channel, and you just got an award from Vita, right?
Yes. Volunteer of the year.
Volunteer of the year. Yes, because you guys are doing so much, like a full-time job.
Yeah, we did make it our full-time job.
Do you find that doing all of this is kind of therapeutic in a sense?
Definitely. Yes. It's kept me so focused, on something other than how I'm feeling or symptoms, and just that sense we get of helping others,
Mm.
And knowing again that you're not alone and that you can somehow help others so they don't feel alone. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and you've probably found too, it makes those new pathways in your brain, the neuroplasticity, that just like doing these new things and kind of retraining and resetting things just helps. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I can tell you just from the first time I interviewed you in Joy, you are really more relaxed now in your story, and maybe that's because of the work you guys are doing. It's huge. I mean, there's a lot of growth through being out there and helping others and just being a voice for the community. It's crazy. I'm so happy that you guys are out here doing this, and then we all met.
Yeah.
And all that.
Yeah, and that we met you and you do vestibular voices with us, and I mean, you do so much too.
Yeah, it's a lot, but you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just
I know.
just the community that we have is just such a good group, and it's family.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. What advice would you give a newbie out there looking to figure out what's going on with their body with all these vestibular symptoms? Is there anything you'd want to tell them?
I definitely want to say, do not give up. Write down all your symptoms, journal them down, keep track of them, keep searching for answers, and really self-advocate. I think we've learned that a lot from our support groups all the time, and just how much that you have to be your own advocate in this, because the doctors, they don't know all the time, and they'll tell you it's anxiety or something, and then you start questioning yourself. And so just really, I've seen so many people, which I wish I would have done, was try to join some of these support groups, or go to something like Vita and check all the information that they have on different disorders, kind of try to educate yourself, because I have heard in support groups that, they have learned more from us vestibular patients and warriors than they have from the doctors. And from us, they kind of learn what direction they need to go in,
That's true.
And so just to keep educating yourself and just not to give up, and find something in the midst of your, worst moments, find something that can bring you some joy and some peace, and that's so hard to find. But if you can find just one little thing to hold on to, during that time, and I would say to reach out to people for help. I wish I would have done that more.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. Yeah.
I didn't want to be a burden. So I just isolated. I didn't go online. Well, I couldn't because of the visual part either, but I pulled away from friends. I pulled away from everybody. And I was like, this is my life right now on the couch, But every day I would journal, and eventually that turned into gratitude journaling and kind of changed my way of thinking. So I know that wasn't just one thing, but it was kind of a bunch of things.
It's a lot. And stepping into yourself and trusting yourself and your intuition is something that, man, I didn't do that. I look back at where I was at the beginning and just wanting answers. I was so emotionally exhausted that
Yes.
even though I know I wasn't being treated right by the doctors, I still wanted answers. So I sat there and
Me
took
too.
the
Yes.
abuse and
Yes.
yeah. But I think the more we're on this journey and the more people we meet, we start setting up those boundaries that, okay, this diagnosis doesn't feel right. You're not listening to me. And we start to become our own advocate. And it takes a
Mhm.
little time to do that, but we really have to step into that. Um, and
Yes, because I
to
went through
trust
that
yourself.
too. Exactly
Yeah.
what you said, kind of the abuse. And I didn't think with medications that, like with one of my last physicians, that I had a choice or I had a say in that. I just thought if I wanted to get better, I had to take this because that's what was offered and that's what I was told was going to work. And I didn't have any say in that,
No.
you
And
know?
we don't want to be seen as non-compliant or not doing what
Right.
we, yeah. But
Right.
you have to know what's good for you. And that doesn't happen overnight because you want to
No.
trust. And that's not all doctors either. There are a lot of doctors that will take time and sit. I actually just spoke with someone yesterday who was looking for a new doctor, and a couple of them would not even come in and sit down with her. They're not looking at her. They're not engaging, not making eye contact.
Mm.
But then she came upon one that sat right next to her, spun around, and said, "Start from the beginning." You know, he went all
Wow.
the way back. I mean, not even the beginning of her vestibular journey. He wanted to know her history. And it was like, she's like, wow, I've never felt more heard. I've never felt like, you know, it's a team. You need a team. You don't need someone just dictating for you. You know, it's your body.
Yes. Yeah,
So
I totally relate to that. And that's so amazing that she met that doctor. That's so good.
I know it's great. If you can
Yeah.
find those, hang on to them.
Yeah. Because it's hard and we do fall into that kind of just, doing what they tell us to because we don't know any other way. And we just, like you said, I remember just wanting the answers immediately, even though I didn't really care for the, physician I was seeing at the time, but I didn't have anyone else and I just wanted to be fixed.
Yeah, it takes time. I mean, we hear often, once in a while, people getting diagnosed right away correctly, but it takes time, and you just have to feel comfortable with that
Um,
diagnosis. Yeah.
Yeah. And, addressing the whole mental part as well.
Hmm.
Take care of your mental health too. The counseling did wonders for me.
Yeah,
I was in counseling for about a year, I'd say, and it just helped so much.
it doesn't. It's not. There's such a stigma behind it. I will tell
Mm-hmm.
you, it is so. I have friends that are therapists and counselors, and they see counselors and therapists. It's
Yes.
yeah, and it's not. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Just it might be a temporary thing, situational thing, just to
Mhm.
figure out how to get through this moment in your life because it can be so disheartening and hard.
Yeah.
And and this isn't to go to someone for them to tell you what to do. It's to really to help you figure out, change your perspective, and
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to live the best life you can. I ran across someone on Instagram. Her name is Michelle Irving, and I'm not sure if she's a psychologist. Anyway, she does an emotional journey map. I'm probably messing that up completely. And she has a vestibular disorder. And
Oh.
I am going to reach out to her and because she offers it free online. It's an emotional journey
Oh.
map that you go from the beginning and how to weave your way through.
Oh,
It is
wow.
huge. I'll have to send that to you, but it is
Yes, please do.
amazing. And I think that's one of the tools that these people out here need, our community needs, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
So important. Hmm.
it is. So what else do you guys have going on? Anything that I don't know about?
Well, lately I kind of feel like I'm kind of entering a new chapter.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like I kind of want to slowly get back to working, doing something just more on a part-time basis, nothing, full on. But, I kind of left my career teaching. And I'm ready to try something new, something different, something that I can learn some new skills, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it's exciting kind of right now because
Yeah.
I just feel like, okay, I'm ready to kind of, spread my wings a little bit and, try to do a little something. And I still want to be involved with Vita job that helps people in some way, but not sure what that is yet. But, yeah, just kind of excited about things coming up, just seeing what I'm going to do next. What am I going to be led to do? And,
Happy to hear you're at that place where you can feel like, okay, what can I do now? I'm just have a different energy in life
mm-hmm.
through these symptoms. And yeah, like you touched on earlier, I do believe that having these disorders gives us some kind of strength that we can step into to say yes to things and no to things. And to want to strive for those things that fill us up.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what that is for you.
I know it's kind of, starting kind of a new career or a new pathway because, I love teaching. I loved that time in my career. I think I've mentioned to you also, I have experience working with Alzheimer's residents in memory care. And I love that part as well. Maybe sometime I'll incorporate something with that again too. But I feel that I wasn't being led to teach anymore because for me, that brings on too many symptoms. I get too stressed with all the responsibilities and things and everything, but I feel like I'm being led in a new direction and I don't know what that is yet, but I'm excited to find out.
That's awesome. So you're just like opening your heart to see what falls into place.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Marissa.
Yeah. I don't want to rush into anything and I don't want to, and I do strongly feel that I want to do some kind of profession still and helping others, in some way. So
yeah, it's crazy how things change because I've thought, well, maybe I can go back to school and do something vestibular related, but I don't want to go back to school.
Yeah.
But I do want to do something that like gives back to others because this feels good.
It does. I mean, like I said in the Chronicles, like I feel like I'm living my dream now doing this stuff. Like this is what I've wanted to do. I love it so much. So, see what I can find, but and still keep this going too, but
yeah, I get it. That's exciting. Well, we're going to have to keep track of you and see what you do for sure. Is there anything else you want to share before we go on to Whirlwind Questions?
Anything else I'd like to share? Well, I'm just glad you asked me on again today because we we're on voices together and stuff, but we don't always get to talk.
I know.
Because of our schedules and
I think we need to connect more often with like the group just in an informal manner, just to banter. It's so fun when we all get together.
Yeah.
And we have some really good conversations behind the scenes.
Right, when we should be recording.
Right. Right. We need to do that from now more often when we have vestibular voices because I think a lot of
our best stuff is sometimes when we turn the camera off, everyone's relaxed then and yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I was just happy to be on here today and catch up with you and
hey,
I love what you're doing.
You guys too. I mean, there's so many things coming around the corner for us. It's exciting, all of us.
Yeah.
Well, I know I asked you the Whirlwind questions before, but even though it's been some time, things change, our perspectives change, and our answers change. So I'm gonna hit you with them again.
Yes. All right.
All right. Fill in the blank. Vestibular disorders are
hard, scary.
They are
difficult.
They are. And you feel your symptoms coming on and you're trying to be brave. What's the first thing you do?
Try to remember to breathe, to tell myself to breathe. And then can I grab my rescue bag?
What's in your rescue bag?
I have my rescue treatment. So I have these eye drops. And so That's kind of my go-to.
What are the eye drops?
So I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Temolo eye drops. It's a beta blocker.
Right.
But they are really fast acting because they are, right in your eye. Starts working right away. So yeah, that's kind of my rescue. But I think just remembering to try to breathe and tell myself it's okay because, we easily go down that path of, oh, here we go again. It's going to be horrible.
Just hang on. We'll get through the ride. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I know. When I find it, if I fight it, I'm there a lot longer than if I just surrender and just say, okay, I'm going to just rest today. And
Yeah, just sit down and make an easier day.
for sure. What is one thing that people usually get wrong about you?
Maybe that I put on a front a lot of times that I have everything together when I don't always,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do know. I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Yes. I'm a mess sometimes, and people don't realize that. But sometimes I'm an organized mess. Yeah, I get that. What is your favorite vestibular friendly meal?
Oh, well, I told you how I've been doing Dr. Bay and Alicia Wolf's book, The Mediterranean Migraine Diet. So I'm doing a lot of those recipes.
Can people that are on a plant-forward diet make exchanges in their recipes in Dr. Bay and Alicia's book? An easy transition to do that?
Yeah, they do offer different things you can add in for vegan or, whatever. There's different choices.
That's awesome. Okay. I'm so glad I asked that.
Well, so I said I like the rosemary chicken. That's one I do a lot. She has this really amazing pasta salad with orzo pasta and spinach and this honey mustard dressing. It's really good. I'm a big fan of the smoothies. So I've been doing that since it came out in the fall. I really tried to do it. And yes, I will cheat a little on the weekends. But I think it's helped me a lot, with inflammation in my body.
Awesome. Yeah, I do. So, well, that's awesome. I'm gonna have to get the book. Just break down. There was a time that I had over 30 cookbooks and I wasn't allowed to buy any more cookbooks.
Oh.
And of course that's when I met Alicia. And so I bought her first cookbook at the end of last year, and because I was driving me crazy. So now she's got another one, of course.
Yeah, and they're both so good.
What is your favorite book?
Oh, that's interesting because through the past probably 5 years, when I have had trouble reading more, I've done a lot of audiobooks. So I guess I like a good mystery or a good kind of thriller. I kind of find myself listening to a lot of, which is probably bad for us, but like medical thrillers, kind of, I guess you would say. Which probably isn't good because then we're kind of pondering those things. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the genre.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like the audiobooks.
Very cool. So you like the medical mysteries?
Yeah. Yeah. And I have listened to a lot of inspirational stories too, on things, I like the author Christine Kane a lot.
Do you have a morning or bedtime ritual routine, for self-care?
Yeah, I kind of do. In the morning, I try to, before I look at emails or anything, I try to, look at something positive or read something positive or, something to kind of a good mindset for the day, before I start looking at other things on the phone. And I am trying to incorporate, since it is Steps to Balance week, I'm trying to incorporate walks again. So this morning, I actually took a walk after breakfast, and that was so nice. Because I hadn't really walked like that in probably 3 years, like on my own. I walked the dog and stuff, but not just like really just taking a walk by myself. And so I'd really like to get back into that. And then kind of
Awesome.
in the evening, before bed, that's kind of when I journal a little bit.
Mhm.
It's about the day and some gratitude things. And yeah, just that helps me kind of wind down a little bit.
Nice. Nice. I also walk in the morning and I don't like walking by myself. So I have a phone buddy I call and we talk on the phone while we walk in the morning.
Oh, perfect.
So it's accountable too. So you might want to get a buddy.
Yeah, yeah. That's a
So
good idea.
awesome. What's an activity that completely relaxes you?
Hmm. I think like since being so busy now, I'm not relaxing as much, I guess. Um, but I'd probably say just walking outside or being outside in nature,
Mm.
that's really relaxing. Yeah, or just like spending time with my pets, cuddling with them on the couch or my
Yeah.
son or,
What kind of
yeah.
pets do you have?
I have a cat. Her name is Mia, and she's actually going to be 20
Oh my
years old
goodness.
next month.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. And then I have a dog, Sydney. She's a Maltese Pomeranian mix, so she's a little 10-pounder. And so, yeah.
A little cutie. I've seen you walking. You've posted with her before. She's a cutie.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. What's a movie that you could watch over and over and never tire of?
Mm. So I'm a big 80s fan for movies. So, I love like The Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles.
The whole run on Molly Ringwald last week, like a whole marathon.
Oh, they did.
I was like, I wonder if
Oh,
anybody else out there is watching all these like me.
oh no. Yeah,
Mm.
I love the 80s movies. So
Yeah, me too.
yeah,
Me
play a lot of
too.
those.
What is your most used tool out of your vestibular toolbox?
Hmm. My most used, I would say probably my baseball hat
Oh, you do wear that a
because when
lot.
I go out a lot or in the stores, I still wear it a lot because it just kind of, helps with the lighting and things. And yeah, so I'd probably say, yeah, my hat. And
Awesome.
then second would be probably my sunglasses.
Yeah, I'm feeling that right now with the sun. I'm like, it's really bright. Yeah, well, cool. Well, and the last question is, what are you extremely grateful for today?
Hmm. I'm so grateful to be part of this community and just have
Period.
met you and, all the work we've done and we are doing. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for it.
I know.
We've met
It is,
so many amazing people, haven't we? I mean, oh
I
my
have not
gosh,
met anybody I haven't just absolutely loved,
I
to be
know
honest. It's just,
that. And like we go through all these things. And I mean, it's like we all still pick ourselves back up and keep going. And, I mean, just resilient people. And
yeah,
yeah, just
I love
amazing and
it.
so kind. So many kind people.
I know. I know. Well, it has been so great having you on today.
Thank you, Heather. It was great coming on.
Marissa, it's always a pleasure talking with you. I can't wait to see what lies ahead for you, and I hope you take us along for the ride. If you would like to reach out to Marissa, please see the show notes for all the ways to do so. If you would like to reach out to me, find those in the show notes as well. I have a question for you this week, and would love for you to leave this answer on my voicemail. I would love to hear from you, and I can't express this enough, so please leave your message on www.speakpipe.com/Meniere's Muse. Now for my question. What is the best advice someone has given you since developing your vestibular something? Whether it was a physician, therapist, friend, parent, child, or a total stranger, leave me a voice message sharing that advice with us. It may be just what someone needs to hear today. Thank you so much. We all have a story. Let yours inspire others. If you would like to share your inspiring story with others or know someone that has a story that others would benefit hearing, please reach out to me. It's all about connection. You can find all the ways to reach me in the show notes. For more information on vestibular disorders, please visit the VITA website at www.vestibular.org. Thank you for listening, and remember to love yourself, be open to the work, lean on this beautiful community, and lastly, believe that healing is possible. I'll see you soon, warriors.